Hello everybody, and welcome back to the LJL officially unofficial cast. I am your host, Alex, otherwise known as X by Mars, and I'm, of course, joined by the insatiable Good Brothers, initialized in Nymera. As I say always, introduce yourselves.
And of course, we are ourselves joined by the unstoppable Lexi, who will not let technical difficulties down us. For anyone watching live, obviously we are trying very hard to keep things running, but like, Twitch is difficult, man. Even LEC had problems with it, and yeah. So I mean, thank you very much for trying your best there, Lexi. We do appreciate it very much.
It's been something.
Yes. And you know what else was something?
What?
Game
that
one.
game, yeah.
Oh,
Whoa.
what a
That's two good
segue!
It's
What
like
a game though from V3 though.
Yeah,
That was a
it was
dominant fashion.
Yeah, it was. And we did praise V3 a lot in that game. I also think it is worth pointing some fingers a little bit at Axiz and saying, you had early vertical jungling, your top laner still died, what's up with that? I think that Urnyan got to put a little bit under the dumpster there. Boogie had fantastic
Somewhat, yeah.
thing over
he
the Baron
did.
pit to get in for that first gank. And then, but then having Ace be able to roam up and finish off that kill as well is quite telling that Axiz were not really communicating about all the map members' movements. We saw that again when Hoglet failed the dive onto Paz on the bot side and then died for that.
True.
Axiz need to settle in. They need
They
to settle in. Game one, it's gone now. You can forget that. That's fine. You can still just win 3 back-to-back if you want.
Yep. And that's the strength of an Italy, right? Is you can get over walls that you haven't warded out. And it did turn out, Hoglet wasn't there. Ace and Boogie were. And that's another person I want to bring up is that we had some question marks around Ace and his performances. He'd been looking a little better in the last few weeks, but it still kind of wasn't always the hard carry for V3. This game, that man popped off on Syndra.
very much.
So many kills.
It did indeed. And I mean, I had Gadeado and Hoglet both in my top 10 for players to watch, actually, for this playoffs. Gadeado tried to make some plays. On the whole, was maybe the one shining light for Axiz in terms of the mid and late game. Obviously, the big shuffle in the mid lane worked out pretty well. But Hoglet and Gadeado did not affect the game the same way that Boogie and Ace did roaming across the map. They do need to step up if they really want to be competing in this series.
Well, let's see if V3 Esports can show a repeat of what they had, or can the narwhals?
Narwhals.
They are? The narwhals of Axiz.
Sea unicorns of the sea.
Just don't let them touch your balls or something like that, right?
That is how the song goes.
That is how the song goes.
That's how the song goes, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad I still vaguely remember.
That was a reference.
Axiz, if they can pull it from the deep dive of the ocean and be like the narwhal and strike their opponents, we'll have to see, as it is a blast from the past. And let me count us in for this second game of V3 Esports facing off against Axiz in 3, 2, 1. Good luck to both these teams.
Thank you again,
I
Master.
would be happy to do a rendition of that song.
Yeah, and
I do remember it acutely.
That's interesting. You know what band I would love to see that would hit them in the balls? Syndra.
Okay,
Take away that lady
lovely.
who throws ginormous dark spheres at people. They
Oh,
just
that's right.
need to go.
Oh, so it wasn't just an offhand comment, it was actually relevant. I got it.
Yeah, see, I thought that was quite good.
Either way, we have some form of darkness banned away as the Nocturne alongside the Jace. So, last time V3 picked up the Tom Kench first pick. It's worth noting that Axiz elected to go for red side this time. They don't want to switch sides, and they banned away at the Tom Kench as their final ban. Whereas V3 sticking with the same bans.
Yep, and it means that Set first picked up here, and Echo is still on the table, and Boogie's like, well, if you were willing to give me that, this man has a 21 KDA on Echo. As a reminder, ladies and gents, this man is a monster on it.
Yeah, this might be. Reyna did look very solid on the Tom Kench last time. It did give him a lot of playmaking tools as well across the map. We saw at the Abyssal Voyage being able to unlock that second rank vault earlier with the more XP that you get on kind of alongside the the fasting center. Axe is going to repeat their same draft from last game thus far with the first 2 picks.
Yeah, it is, but V3 looking to potentially take away the Varus and prevent that run back at least. I mean, I still thought Unyan played the lane in the isolate 1v1 fairly well, got off to a good CS lead. You saw how the champion was supposed to work, so then maybe their thoughts are maybe the early game just didn't go out the way we wanted it to. Let's try it again with a bit calmer nerves.
Love it. Okay.
But that means Thresh locked in for Reyna
Reyna's
alongside that Varus.
Reyna's Thresh is terrifying.
Yeah, it is. And Archer's Varus has also been pretty damn good, so I'm a big fan of that bot lane pick up for V3.
And of course, we do say that Varus is a flex pick on the whole. Gallardo, we've talked about his LeBlanc, we've talked about his Zoe a bit. He did have a good Azir game. I think the Azir game, the game kind of fell away from him, and obviously you can't impact the early game in the same way that you can do his other champions. Was looking at the Syndra, did not choose to pick it up. It is the Nautilus locked in instead. It's a better lane partner if you want to put down the... it is a good lane partner if you want to put the Kalista down in bot lane. It's not something like the Taric, which gives you some more of that teamfight presence. But they actually didn't even get to teamfights last game. That was the problem. Maybe this can shore up their 2v2.
Yeah, and hopefully this will give Corporal a little bit more agency to look for fights himself rather than react to them, as he was kind of forced into on that Taric a little bit. Of course, you can use the Cosmic Radiance aggressively, but they just never had chance. This way, at least with the Nautilus, you can go fishing for hooks, fishing for those picks. Echo off the table by Axiz, not really a surprise to see that one taken away, and Misfortune off the board, one of those strong AD carries. They're still assuming that Kalista is going straight back up top.
Well, I think Misfortune Nautilus is the one bot lane we've really seen persevere right the way through the LJL split. It was the Misfortune Leona coming in alongside that as well, all of these other things. But it is so good against these heavy CC sports. Boogie being heavily targeted in this second round. We're going to have to see once more which champion he goes to. He still has Lee Sin available, still has the Gragas available. They're not as early game centric as, or rather, yeah, not as mobile, maybe, as the Nidalee and the Echo when you get around to these middle... Actually, no, that's not even in itself. These two are very Boogie picks. They're a little bit of wild cards. When you compare them to the more known factors of the Lee Sin and the Gragas, maybe they're just a little too hard to handle.
And yep, Nico taken off the board here as the last pick as well. Did get buffed in 10.5.
Well, in all forms, right?
And
it's attack speed, attack speed scaling, AP ratios on the ult, and all the other stuff. Syndra locked in.
Yes, and that is a big one, because it is that takeaway from Ace, who has looked very good on that champion. That means that he doesn't get the... There's no LeBlanc, there is no Jace, there is no Syndra. Those are the picks Ace has genuinely looked superb on. So see what he defaults to. Silas did get through the draft, and that could well be for Boogie.
This was a second
could
round.
also be for Ace.
This was a second round ban from Axiz last time. They're not locking it in right now. They've locked in the Rumble. This could be mid lane or top lane if Set is flexed around there. I don't know whether Rumble does well into Kalista top. I wouldn't say anything about that.
I mean, the slow on the Electro Harpoon got to be quite good by Stone. If you can keep her in the Flame Spitter, I can see the potential power in that pick. I don't know. I've not seen a lot of Kalista top matchups really yet. So,
okay, it is decent. Okay, all right. So Boogie, very proficient on that pick. Has a lot of big montage plays. It had some Duff plays too versus, I believe, it was Rascal Jester when he had that game into the Lissandra full seat. It was like Lissandra, Sejuani, Braum, just like full glacial. This game, none of that available. Is into the Kalista, might stop some of his more opportunistic picks if he goes onto someone with the Fate's Call. It's Aatrox locked in for Earnyan. I called this out in the break as something which I'd really like to see Earnyan go back towards. I think he's been very proficient on team fighting picks. He had that 7-1 and 2 performance back in was that week 5, I believe? He was on that. I'm trying to remember which game it was, but he had that a little while ago, showed his proficiency on that pick. It is a well-known matchup into Set. This is going to be the Kalista bot lane this time, and this shows the power of the flex pick, right? It really allows them to say, look, we know that this is the lane we want to have. I prefer this draft a lot more from Axiz compared to the last one. I think Gallardo has a better way to affect the early into mid game with the unleashed power, has kill pressure onto the Rumble at different points in this game, particularly alongside the Rek'Sai as well. This mid 2v2 is going to be very fun to watch if they do commit to it from both sides.
Yes, I completely agree, and I also want to keep an eye on that bot lane. There is a lot of playmaking going on, and Kalista does want to get out to those early leads, even if she does have a certain amount of safety in her kit. So Hyde in that last match was quiet, we'll say. Has largely been a bit quiet over the split.
Would you say he was hidden?
Yeah, he did do a little bit of hiding away, or trying to hide away from some of those piercing darkness procs from the center. But this time around, Corporal Hyde set up for success with some seriously hard engage.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the mid-game team fights out of E3 are going to be pretty crazy. I think on the other side, there's also plenty of crazy team fight potential. When you've got stuff like the Equalizer available to drop that on top of the Kalista, again, we talk about slows against the Kalista being almost as effective as hard CC because it still limits your mobility and your attack speed. Dropping that equalizer down, also having, like the Scout of the Week to follow up, and then Chains of Corruption, and then the Hail of Arrows as well. There's a lot of AoE kind of throwaway CC to land on top of these crazy teamfight ultimates.
Yep. So, V3, up 1 game in this series. This time around, it's a little bit more of a standard draft outside of that Rumble mid, which is off meta, as we would say, edge meta, maybe the way to put it. But apart from that, bit more standard draft, less of the draft fireworks this time.
You know what's a bit less standard? Okay, so we see Halo Blades on both AD carries. It's not a Comet Varus, it's not a Poke Varus, it is not even a Lethal Tempo Varus. This is the very quick burst out of the Varus here. It means that if Kalista wants to go for the early trades, there's going to be something to mitigate that, at least in the early levels. Also means the turnaround potential from Archer on this pick is pretty huge, allows you to get those first couple of autos out, throw out an ability, proc all those stacks, and then start working back up again on them.
Yeah, big time. I can see that. I also want to see how Ace performs on this Rumble. We've been a little bit worried about
It's a different pick as well.
Some of his other champion pool issues this time around though. Exactly, it is that different pick, and we'll see whether we can do it. It's another strong roaming pick again. He did that really well the last game. So if him and Boogie turn up with an equalizer and a Dragon's Rage to throw down the hurt on a side lane, could definitely be pretty destructive.
Okay, so the start has not been scouted out from Axiz right now. Will be right now because they will see Ernyan coming back to lane. Means that Archer and Reyna they're very necessarily not walking up to the bush to get level 1 traded by the Nautilus Callisto, which is pretty horrifying at level 1.
Yeah, and well done to play for the safety. Like, went in at the last moment to get those minions. Reyna taking the lead as well, just as that kind of slightly tankier member.
Yeah, you kind of have to at that kind of point. And one of the big changes to Halo Blades on this patch, obviously, means that if you are in combat with minions, it still allows your Halo Blades to come off cooldown. It does mean that it's a slightly longer cooldown on the whole, but you can keep stacking it up even when keep it coming off a cooldown even when you're farming.
Which is very nice for that laning phase, to be sure. And doesn't mean means you don't have to prioritize between farming and trading, which is always a bit of a weakness on that Halo Blades. This time around, not so strong.
Ace getting early pushing. That's pretty good for them.
Welcome to Flame Spitters. Does allow you that a little bit. And that is, was that the Badlands Rumble?
Badlands Rumble.
Yeah, basically all the Mad Max references you could ever want in that. Ooh,
well, he missed the cannon.
But he did miss the cannon.
Yeah, he did miss the cannon. So
mediocre.
We see mediocre. I never saw that movie, but that reference is
It's a really good movie, actually. Really recommend it.
Yeah, it's a very mediocre reference.
But that's just not true.
Yeah, okay.
It's really not. No, it's like actually exceptionally relevant, and I can't believe you said that to me.
You know what's also pretty mediocre?
What?
This lane positioning for Paz. Kind of
it's not great.
It's kind of meh. Missed out on the cannon there. I didn't know where Hoglet was across the map. Obviously, we saw that Ernyan was not the benefactor, the non-benefactor of a gank in the early game last game. I don't have words.
You don't. It's alright.
It's not like I'm like doing this for a trade or anything.
Nope.
Knowing how to talk.
None of that.
But yeah, obviously Ernyan was on the bad side of a gank in the last game early on into the top lane, whereas Paz does not want to play towards that. Yeah, he's definitely one of our safer top laners. I think he tends to, as I put in the post game for game 1, he loses gracefully. He's the person which he does tend to play pretty well on the weak side.
Yeah, just as a quick spot off there, that was Blue Buff traded very swiftly over to Syndra as Boogie around on the top here. Looking to try and find something. But
stealing our Krugs.
First blue buff did go over to Galliardo to give him a little bit more control in this lane. Is up currently about 10 CS, but that's because for the moment Rumble has roamed up to join Boogie on a bit of a repeat, sort of like the roam up to the top side is now back in lane. And this time around, no kill came out of it, which I'm sure Ernyan is feeling really happy for as Paz misses the face breaker and takes a massive Q3 to the face.
He does the Umbral, the Darkened Blade rather, not the Umbral. Whatever.
Umbral Dash.
Umbral Dash, yeah. Darkened Blade coming in pretty huge there. Is down a lot of CS as Ernyan in this early phase of the game. Probably just playing towards junglers again, but Paz managing to shove in a couple of minions being lost to turret as well. Going to be... I want to see if Paz is going to TP back to the lane, actually. He's waiting. He's actually going to walk all the way back, going to save that TP for early plays around the map. Reyna missing the hook there, but it was, pretty opportunistic anyway.
Yeah, it's just like it was just looking max range hook, looking for maybe something there.
Yeah, we're checking across the map. So we see heal on the Rumble. I guess that's another thing to point out. I think the first player I really saw to really go towards this was actually Faker.
Yes.
Faker really loves to take the heal on this because you have a lot of damage on Rumble. You don't necessarily need the Ignite for the 1v1 kill pressure, whereas the heal can allow you that extra speed boost to kind of get back into things. I think you do go for the Nimbus Cloak onto the Rumble anyway, which means that heal and the Nimbus Cloak means that you do get out of a lot of dangerous situations. Speaking out of situations and their danger, this dragon, fearing for his life, it's going to die. Goodbye.
It is. Goodbye, dragon.
Bye, dragon.
Was spotted out by Atlanta from Reyna, but Axiz not deterred, just head straight over, claim that one pretty easy. Another early Drake over to Axiz.
It is. And this time, at least, Hoglet is not in kind of a losing scaling jungle matchup. You know, the Lee Sin and the Rek'Sai do kind of have some parity. Lee Sin probably outscales a Rek'Sai in terms of playmaking potentials you can make in team fights. But in this game, at least, Rek'Sai is into 4 melee champions. Yes. Well, Rek'Sai, Thresh is ranged, I guess. But, you know, you're into a melee top side of the map does tend to up the Rek'Sai's target accessibility, means you can kind of stick to a couple of champions, which means that, you know, you do have some ability in the late game to affect some of these fights a bit more than you could do against, you know, like a ranged mid laner.
Yeah, and you saw there Galliardo wandering into the red side jungle. A little bit afraid of another gank at top side, and that kind of pressure has forced Unyan away from tower a number of times. At this point, he's down 20 CS through the concerted pressure from V3, who are once again roaming to this top side, looking to invade onto this red buff.
Will be spotted out from a good ward there, placed from Galliardo, put it in the jungle. Galliardo, of course, very at home in the jungle, because Galliardo is a gorilla.
Oh
no, legit.
That's what it is.
Legitimately, yeah. So if you follow Corporal on Twitter, he was tweeting out gorilla followed by a hedgehog in emojis, and I was like, I'd actually completely missed that. Maybe I am the dumb. Boogie actually looking to steal away does get away with the smite.
That's pretty big. But look, Unyan's going to find over the wall. He's thinking about it. Is he going to go? No.
That was pretty scary. That guy was also, the Silverback roaming up. The wild Silverback finding his way back home.
Yeah, that wild Silverback, though, hasn't unleashed power, but it would be versus Ace, who has got an Equalizer ready and primed to go. And in a jungle, that Equalizer tends to hit like a bloody truck.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Oh, big trades down here on the bottom side
as
the Callista procs the Halo Blades, as does the Varus, though, so it's actually a pretty even trade at the end of the day. As we said before, it is the on-hit Varus. This could be a bit of a tussle up here in the top lane as Unyan was looked to be getting dived. Paz already, Tussle is not playing, I know production, nah, I'm good. So anyway, the dive was staved off. The dive was staved off by Hoglet being in the area, and also Galliardo eventually managing to roam up there. Archer was just weaving his way forward there. They realized they had the level 6 to Chains of Corruption, and no Fate's Call to potentially even up that kind of ultimate fighting prowess in the bot lane.
Yeah, and that is a massive deal. Hyde's got to be just inches away from level 6. He really is. He just needs a minion or two to go down in his favor, but for now, Archer has position on the wave, and Hyde does not. So,
okay. And who also had positioning on the wave was Ace. However, Galliardo has found his way back into the mid lane. He has also reset. He has a Sorcerer's Boots, has 2 Doran's Rings, is very ready to fight, but he is up against an Equalizer.
Hoglet's going flash in, that's huge! The stun onto Boogie, he's in a lot of trouble. There's going to be an Equalizer coming down, but it only just hits onto Hoglet. Ace doing a lot of damage back onto that Rek'Sai, but looking to go in for an execute here. Flash out of the wall. Boogie's going to flash out as well. Paz trying to showstopper. I think he's still going to go down for his sins. First blood to this Aatrox, and Summoner's burnt by V3.
So, Equalizer comes in, but he hadn't had any items to his name. He had an Amp Tome compared to Galliardo coming in with the reset, as we were saying. Unyan also coming to the fight early. I said I wanted to see this guy a bit more on this pick. It's coming out pretty big in the early game so far. They get themselves the 2 early objectives of the game in 1 Herald and 1 Dragon.
They do. That Herald is up. They've secured Scuttle Crab as well. That Mountain Drake summoning in a minute is looking good for Axiz this time around.
It is. So, Ultimate's all available for everyone here. Hoglet gets a nice early trade. Stacks up his Conqueror very importantly as well. Gives him a lot of those early stats. Boogie and Ace are absolutely chunked out to higher heavens here. Hoglet using the ultimate to make sure that the Rumble disengages, and then the rest of the team just kind of has to turn tail. But Paz is already committed, and then in the backside of that,
terrifically down, Hoglet picks that one up, but Galliardo now in trouble. trouble, kicked back by Boogie to at least trade that back. And then now here in a numbers advantage, but teleport coming in, and Ace is caught. He's going to go down.
No.
And now Paz has teleported late, and he's in trouble, has to flash straight out the wall, realized he was in a lot of trouble. 2 for 1, and Dragon started up for Axiz. Now 1,500 gold lead. Now stacking up their dragons too.
Archer chooses the pretty dangerous path to go up the river that ends up getting hooked, and it is hook, line, and sinker for the team fight. Boogie has the lantern to try and make his way back out of the pit here if he wants. Doesn't end up landing the hook there, either does Reyna. So it is the second dragon going the way of Axiz. A much more stable early game. And one thing we have talked about Axiz in the past is that they do have a firm handle on their win conditions when they do find one in this game. So Reyna and Archer walking the way up. Reyna looking for something into the mid lane, not realizing that they had already been flanked. With Archer removed very early into this fight, that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the team fight. At least with Syndra down, they don't have any more of that consistent damage to come in. But Hyde is back, and the AD carry difference, it comes up pretty huge here. Paz with a late teleport.
Yep. And has to flash straight out. And that's 2 skirmishes in a row that have gone very much in the favor of Axiz. Credit to Boogie and Ace for getting something onto Garyadu, but the rest of that fight was very much not in their favor.
Yeah, I'd agree. Unyan also off to the races here on the Aatrox. He's been affecting the map pretty well. And now with the bot side of the map so stable, and then no real pressure coming in from the Lee Sin in this early game either, Unyan will be in a much better position to really affect the map. With the Herald coming in mid as well, with no wave clear available, and against all these melees, the Equalizer is going to come out for said wave clear, but that's a big tool to use for it.
Yeah, and plates all over. It's shared between a lot of people, though, so not the most value.
Yeah,
but gold in the squad did force out the Equalizer as well, and that's on a pretty large-ish cooldown. Well, I was going to say that's actually already coming up pretty swiftly.
It's a long cooldown. It's one, but it's not like up there with like Stand United or anything, right? It's still okay, and there's no objective to really fight around in the next couple of minutes. So I think maybe that's one of the lower value heralds you can have. I guess they just wanted to get Garyadu with some plates there. Ace going for a hard trade here, but this is pretty bad.
He's in trouble. There's a chilling smite. There is still a not quite quick enough. Hoglet using that Unbarrow is now actually in a bit of trouble because incoming Boogie because Scatter the weak.
It interrupted the Q follow-up there from Boogie. Didn't end up being able to cast that spell even. And that's what we're talking about with Nimbus Cloak and Heal on Rumble. That is so much movement speed there coming out of the Rumble. Allows him to disengage even from the Chilling Smite. Can they disengage this, though?
I don't think they can, because Flash behind by Hyde to make sure he can keep stacking those up. Another kill in that bot lane off some clean play. Corporal finding a monster dredge line through the minions.
2 kills onto Hyde here, doing completely the opposite of what Unyan did on the Kalista last time. The first 2 kill involvements, at this time kills for the team. It is Archer going down for the second death on the Varus. Been a little bit exposed on that AD carry so far. And it is to the tune of a 2.2 thousand gold lead to Axiz.
Yeah, and that's double Drake, first Herald, lots of plates, and serious map pressure for Axiz, who are looking really good. And I don't even necessarily think they get outscaled, per se. I think Syndra scales really well. And sure, Varus probably a little better in the late game than Kalista.
I think particularly in this game, because there are so many melee champions on V3, Axiz are very happy with this game. Aatrox, very good at tangling with melee, is able to disrupt them. It's not like he's up against an Olaf or something, which can just kind of ignore him and then kind of run through to the backline. It's a Rumble, which Aatrox has a pretty fine time dealing with. And then also you have a GLP on Syndra. GLP is really good into melee comps. It allows you to disengage a lot of them. Even if the Equalizer lands, there are ways you can disengage it. Of course, there are playmaking opportunities from V3. You can get good kicks, you can get Chains of Corruption, you can get Thresh Hooks and Flays and all the other kind of CC coming through. But it is much harder because of the range disparity that your team is acting on.
All right, V3 set up around this second Herald spawn. They have got the Scuttle Crab, but Axiz looking to potentially contest that Herald down to about half HP. Reyna waiting in that bush. Has been spotted out by a decent prey seeker. A great Scuttle, Scout of the Week. And Corporal's into the backline, but that's a Sonic Wave onto Hyde, who's now in trouble. Great showstopper. But Hyde kicked in, shot down onto that Kalista. Corporal flashing out, but this is a fight that has gone the way of V3 thus far. But a Scout of the Week claims 1 kill in return. Corporal running away, trying to find maybe an execute, but I don't think he's going to get it. Paz is around. Is this an execute? No. Rumble gets that kill.
I do just want to say Corporal had a pretty great team fight there. Ended up interrupting the resonating strike follow-up from Lee Sin's Q2 with the Fate's Call, but Hyde still died. Boogie found his way onto that. Only person deathless on his team right now. They get themselves the second Herald. They lost the first one, but they do end up claiming this one. And they end up getting a slew of kills with it too. So game on, game 2.
Yeah, and we had questions, right? V3 from ahead are a very different beast in the regular season, at least, from V3 behind. V3 from behind have looked a little lost, a little aimless in past games. This time around, though, finding their way back into some parity, and that's good stuff if you're a V3 fan. Axiz, though, starting up this Infernal Drake, and that'll put them at Infernal Soul Point.
That parity does not show in the Dragons. So we see the third Dragon going down, it will be an Infernal Soul. It's going to be very, very early Soul Point. That'll be 21 minutes into the game, which is, very early as far as these things go. Paz had no TP, wanted to push out the top lane. Anyway, I guess the ultimate cooldowns being there for, not being available for V3 meant that they didn't want to go for another big ticket fight at this point in the game.
Yeah, and what that first tower has done for V3 is brought that gold lead back to just about 500 behind, which is, frankly, not all that huge. Especially with Leandri's complete alongside Sork Boots for this Rumble. This next Equalizer will hit like a small ship and cause a lot of damage to whoever happens to stand in the burning carpet of hell.
Yeah, for sure. That's a red carpet you really don't want to be on. That's probably one of the few times in life I'll say that,
But V3 are offering, throwing out the welcome party for you there. VIP treatment.
Well, maybe I want to social distance myself away from that carpet. Yeah. Maybe that's one place I really don't want to be mingling with the other stars there. And speaking about mingling, we've got a bit of there are more than 10 people there in the mid lane. That's illegal.
That is illegal. What also might be illegal is the damage that this turret is going to take. Property damage taking huge. That's a massive scout of the week into Dredgeline. Uwinyan is here, but flayed away. Reyna now in trouble. Hogla is split off on the other side, and I think it's just going to go down. But the other side, I don't think... Yep, sorry, Reyna did go down. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the end. The tower stays up. And that's about all she wrote in that particular engagement for now.
Sparks are flying all across the board there. Herald does take down some damage on the mid lane, outer turret, but it doesn't go down in itself. Gadiaru now sat at 2-1 and 3 now on the Syndra. Very close to Corporal going down there again. I've been very impressed in these last two team fights about how Corporal has been playing around the Kalista ultimate, being able to be dragged into that champion and thrown out again for a big knockup. Being a melee champion kind of gets him where he wants to be as well. Trying to interrupt a lot of CC, but once again, Hyde kind of... struggling to make as big of an impact on these fights as he could do. Has the Tabby there as well, not the Berserker Greaves. But I want to see a replay of that fight, actually, because I didn't end up seeing all of it, because it just happened on so many fronts.
Yeah, it did. We watched off to one side as Hogla got isolated by Boogie, and I'm not quite sure who else it was. Potentially Paz.
That's why I want to watch it again. So much stuff happened.
And then the other side, it was that kind of 4v3 that did go in the favor of Axiz, and... what that has meant that is Syndra up to her GOP. It's got a blasting one in inventory as well, looking pretty strong. Kalista, Blade of the Rune King, and Zeal complete. Strong point for her. But alongside the Leandries we mentioned for that Rumble, it's Blade of the Rune King in for Varus as well. Paz, though, has to be a little careful as that GOP lands. They're going. Gonna see if they can get a massive amount of damage to that stun there. The Haymaker is going to go in. Big execute, flash out, well played by Axiz.
So we saw this play not work out the first game, and what I wanted to say, what I said I wanted to see out of Axiz is them to settle down. Don't try too hard for it. This time they used their tower aggro very well. Gadiadu starting off with a good Q to take aggro there, went back out of tower range. Hoglet came back in, then used the ultimate himself to reset aggro and get the final killing blow. Gets them gets them the bot lane outer turret, brings them back up to a gold lead, although not as big as it once was, and Hoglet gets himself a kill.
Yeah, and this time around as well, Hoglet not getting completely out jungled by Boogie, both finding big impacts. So, like, Boogie's playing badly, 103 has been 100% part of all the kills that V3 have found, but Hoglet as well, looking pretty good thus far. V3 finally shove in at this mid lane and claim
That's pretty big. That's pretty big. It means that they don't get to just sit in the mid lane and kill all the minions heading towards their tower. Just kind of wave clear them. And it means that V3... So, what you have to ask yourself the question, why is it important when a mid lane outer turret goes down? towers mean so many different things. First off, it's gold for you. That's a good thing. But it also just gives you vision around the area without you yourself having to stand there as a champion.
I thought they were just there for aesthetics.
Yeah, their scenery.
It's just really pretty.
The upholstery is lovely this time of year.
Yeah.
Not that it changes at any time of year.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe in preseason.
Maybe.
But yeah, basically taking down this mid lane out of turret means that it allows you to push further up without being on vision yourself, without having... It allows you more areas where you can easily get to without having to go through the turret and take aggro through it, all that kind of stuff. And it is important when you're trying to posture around these objectives, like the Infernal Soul coming up.
I was just about to talk about that one, because it's up in 30 seconds.
It is indeed. There are ultimates available from both sides. There are summoners available from both sides. We're missing the flash and the heal from Ace and the flash from Hogla, but that is it. All the tools that these teams have available to them are off of cooldown besides those three things. This is not something which V3 can afford to give up, I think. Not with the range disparity, which means that the Infernal Soul, when you apply any kind of damage, gives that extra tick there, means that it will be so important if this goes over to Axiz.
And this Infernal Drake is certainly not Fight Club because everyone is talking about it, and it started up by Axiz. Spears in. This will not be an even smite fight. Rend is such a powerful tool.
Level advantage on Boogie, though.
Corporal off to one side, Uinyan off to the other. Archer going in for a Chains of Corruption. Hogla has to go out. He can't be here for a smite. Boogie has slain Kalista.
Boogie's got it.
He's got it. That's huge. V3 coming up massive in this fight. But Corporal is here. Uinyan too. But they can't find anything. It's a double for this Lee Sin. And it's all gone wrong for Axiz.
And around the big objective, it is the posturing from V3, which comes up big there. It is a huge turnaround. There is no Infernal Soul. It's only going to be a Baron going over to V3 as well. With Hoglet solo, he has to reset right now. There's no AD carry to fight this. And also, Gadiadu is posturing very dangerously. Might end up picking Reyna here, though, on the backside.
He's got the no unleashed power, can't do all that much. But remember, Baron started. There is nobody alive, really. And around, it's just him.
They're afraid.
Forced away, though, because Gariaro is still pretty damn strong.
Okay, so one of the understated facets of taking a Baron is that when Baron, the big objective on the top side of the map, damages you, it shreds your magic resist. Means that all these magic damage champions like Syndra can burst you out if you stand in that pit for too long because they just do so much more bad damage.
Tomoyasu Mahuta there?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Really great guitarist. Did that really famous riff during the sushi restaurant scene versus I forget her name. Was it Lucy Liu playing the character?
So Sam, I just said that I haven't watched the movie.
Because you haven't watched doesn't mean you don't know the characters or the famous scenes.
Well, now you know I don't.
Yeah, so Uncultured is my color caster here. Just interested in League of Legends.
Hang on. Ask me about anything with the Star Wars prequels, I'll know. That's culture, bro.
That's culture. I grant you. I'm there with you. This is a.
Ooh, Chains of Corruption did just miss again. Then.
Going in. Corporal going to find a dredge line doesn't go down. Corporal now taking a Sonic Wave, but no resonating strike that follows up. End of that little engage attempt.
Yeah, so that's actually two big engage tools gone from both sides. Neither side finding anything. Baron is still alive. No one really going towards the side lanes just now. Unyan's going to go towards the bot lane on the Aatrox. He's going to try and push it in. But there's no tower to take there. He's going to actually have to spend quite a long time in that bot lane to really start threatening any kind of the map state of the map when you kind of think, oh, we need to move that now because we're going to lose a tower. They're not going to lose a tower anytime soon. And also, Aatrox doesn't take towers too quickly. He's not the best split pusher in the game.
No. He is not. And for now, at least, the game turns to a point of quiet and of pretty big parity outside of that looming Infernal Soul threat. And look at that timer in the top left corner of your screens. Infernal Drake number 3 spawning in just under a minute 30. Oh. So we might be seeing round 2 of the non-secret fight club coming up very soon.
Speaking of movies, obviously you're saying it's a bit quiet, and it's turning into a bit of a horror movie. It is a quiet place.
Ooh, well, it's quite good. Yeah. I always say while I know I've seen Kill Bill, I know some decent movies. I have not seen.
I've not seen that either, actually. That's all I know. I know the title.
You know a fair amount of horror movies, right? I've never really seen all that many.
Yeah.
I jump too much.
It's the same, to be honest. And I have to say, it's going on a bit of a tangent here. As much as it's a very important game, I love myself some international horror movies. Some of my very favorites are the Korean ones. But then, there's some very famous Japanese horror artists as well. Junji Ito.
Massively great stuff.
I'm still scarred by the Holes one That's remember that
that's
manga piece?
just horrific. Yes,
It is. And speaking
wonderfully
of
concerning.
speaking of horrific, Axiz will not want to repeat the horrific game 1 performance as much as it wasn't necessarily their fault. They just got snowballed on. This game they have stalled that snowball. In fact, they were snowballing themselves for a large point in this game. And now it's come back to even. And one thing which we have said about Axiz time and time again is that they are pretty good around fighting around objectives, knowing about what future. This was a decent force onto Gariaru, but then committing the equalizer afterwards meant it wasn't available towards the end of it. And then with the team fight ultimate down from the Rumble, Eunyan is then the superior team fighter on the Aatrox. Wings are out, world ender active on the ultimate there. You buy so much space for Hyde to start jumping around. And then what we were saying before is that slows are really good onto Callista. If you don't tag them with the equalizer, it means that they can just keep, the Callista can just keep jumping around. How's the 2-item spike of the Blade, the Rune King, and the Runan's Hurricane? This is the spike you want to fight around if you're Axiz.
And this time she has a QSS as well, so a lot of those slows, a lot of those stuns, you get a hook onto her or a chains of corruption onto her, that initial CC isn't going to mean anywhere near as much. And even if you get that Callista, there is still the threat of a Syndra with a hell of a lot of items.
Actually, I would be really tempted as Ace to pick up a Rylai's instead of going towards whatever he's going for without a nearly large rod. If you tag someone with Liandry's burn, the Liandry's keeps refreshing the Rylai's. It doesn't matter if you have a QSS at that point from Hyde, it means that you are continually slowed. Problem is, it does limit your damage output, and maybe you think, okay, we do need the higher damage available from the Rumble with, the Flaming Carbit put down. But that would be a very interesting bit of utility to throw onto the AD carry, which, as we said, is someone that the Axiz do want to fight around right now.
And it's also such good synergy with the Liandry's passive, which does increase burn damage when you add slows to the mix. So I can absolutely agree with you, and we've talked about how powerful they are versus Callista, as that Callista nearly walked it face first into set there.
Face first into a face breaker.
Yeah, that would have been a mistake, is what that would have been.
Yeah, mistakes were made.
QSS or not, I don't think you want to tank a face breaker into a showstopper.
I don't think so either. That's not normally a healthy thing. So obviously one thing which happens when you take the 4th dragon, if one team takes 4 dragons, then you get the dragon soul. But then of course the elder dragon spawns as the next dragon available, and that gives you the execute damage, where if you deal damage to someone who is lower than a certain threshold of HP, the elder dragon pops up above your head and smites them down, instantly killing them. Which means that, and this is available to either team. You don't have to have the Dragon Soul before, of course. Which means that if V3 were to steal the Elder Dragon, that is a very appropriate win condition. This is not out of the woods yet from Axiz. If this game goes long enough to go towards that, and V3 steal that, this is bad news bears for Axiz.
It is bad news bears for Axiz, but right now, Axiz in a pretty strong point jungle vision control-wise, but Boogie trying to find his way onto a backline.
TP.
Teleport deep on the lane coming.
Eunyan doesn't have teleport, 4v5!
That's a showstopper onto Gariaru. Great hook onto him as well, the Syndra shut down. Corporal now golden in the middle of everybody. And Hyde has used that Fate's Call. Eunyan has finally turned up, maybe looking to turn this around, but it's a 4v5, and health bars are desperately low for Axiz. They're turning it around, though. Paz has been good, but he gets a shutdown onto Corporal with the true damage. V3 are turning it around again. It's just Hyde versus the world. He's got a rend, but the Sonic Wave lands. And Hyde, QSS is never enough. Not versus this. He's still hopping around. He's going to keep going. It's another rend, but the shutdown goes towards Archer. Ace versus the Infernal Soul. It's only Paz who goes down. The Baron is up. And V3 somehow, some way, find another team fight.
The discrepancy in teleports comes up absolutely huge there for V3. They have a deep ward behind the Axiz team. They teleport to it. They get a 4v5 numbers disadvantage. Eunyan only comes in towards the end of the fight, and that's after Gadiadu was already dead. We saw that this Syndra in the last game can be so pivotal towards the team fights, able to remove someone very, very quickly with the full burst combo. That wasn't available into this game, and it's going to net them 5 kills and a Baron for V3.
Yeah, and that means that V3 have got themselves an option. They've got a way into this game. Yeah, they may be down an Infernal, so yeah, maybe they don't have strict scaling advantage, but let's look at this replay and how on earth they found this flank.
Okay, so they're trying to get some mid lane priority, but I think you just don't expect there to be a ward, as we can see in the top right of the screen there, which is available to teleport to. Paz is in base, he goes onto it, and then it's just the ultimate wombo combo there. Hyde does a good job of pulling out his support with the Fate's Call Callista's ultimate there, and gets Corporal to safety. Eunyan, but however, is then kind of left out to dry on the back of the team fight, doesn't end up being able to do any damage to start using that Death's Dance item to recover a lot of HP with all the damage that he does, and then kind of the rest of the team has already been wailed on by the rest of the team. There's no consistent damage being put out. Eunyan, he just used the World Ender there, maybe to try and dodge a roam up from the side of E3, but that ultimate will once again not be available for him now.
No, but it's level 16. It's a pretty short cooldown, and it will be up, I imagine, in time for this Elder Drake spawn in 30 seconds, which is pretty big.
Yeah, he has 30% CDR. It is the last rank, the ultimate as well. The cooldown going down with each rank, of course. He's ready to fight. He'll have the flash and the teleport this time. Has a stopwatch as well. But this cannot be a team fight where they get picked off early. We can't see Boogie managing to land something into Reyna landing something. Reyna has had some impressive hook accuracy in some of these fights, that last fight in particular, catching out Hyde, forcing out the QSS at the end of it. QSS is up again, is off of cooldown for Hyde. They have vision of Archer here. Hyde trying to stack up.
Eunyan this time looking for a flank. It feels like these teams have been trading them. That's a great two-man scatter of the week. But Boogie has found his way onto Hoglet. And that Fate's Call has put Corporal in a bad spot. Having a flash away. Eunyan is here, but I think it might be a little too late. Hyde trying to dance, juke away, but the showstopper means that Callista is down. But it's a massive engage by Eunyan, who goes down anyway. And now V3 have got a numbers advantage. Scatter of the week is there, and Gary Aru does a hell of a lot of damage, but it's a 2v4 health bars though. Very low for V3. They're starting up the Elder Drake anyway.
I think with Archer being this high HP, I don't know if Axiz can really afford to... Well, they'd have to try, I think. Corporal using the hook to scout out that bush. There's no vision available for them, though. Boogie's managed to heal up with that Safeguard secondary activation, which gives him the lifesteal and spell vamp. This will be Elder Dragon forcing down. Now Corporal gets hit.
He's dead. Remember, it doesn't just hit. He's just about to survive because he has a shield. But Boogie lands a Sonic Wave and he's done.
No! Okay, that's playing with fire, and some very dangerous fire there. Archer once again walking up, seeing if they can get the killing blow onto Corporal. We were talking about how the Elder Dragon is available to both teams after one team gets the soul. V3 pick it up. They've now got a death cap onto the Rumble in the mid lane, which gives you that huge amount of AP. This is now a very dangerous situation for Axiz in this game so far. There's been back and forth. It's 16 kills to 11, not nearly the shutout that game one was. But Axiz, I feel like they had some opportunities to really try and team fight V3 around certain objectives. We saw that in the very first Infernal Soul fights when V3 had no dragons to name. They lost it even with Rend and with the jungler available. They got out team fought around that objective. They just got out team fought when the Elder Dragon was available. That doesn't bode well for this team going further into this series if it's just on a pure mechanical level being outplayed.
Yeah, and that is a big deal, and it's just that slight hint of, I don't even necessarily want to say disjointedness. It's just it's just being that like half a paragraph, even half a not a page, just a half a paragraph behind V3 who are pulling that trigger that little bit faster, that little bit more cohesively, and that like Eunyan not being there 2 fights in a row, trying to find flanks both times, because you could see he was on the way with the flank, but V3 pulled the trigger before he got there.
They did, right? And then they kind of decided to half commit to the fight, and then it was a bad times. The thing about an Aatrox in particular from the top lane from Eunyan is that you do need to kind of be disrupting while other people are pulling their own weight, right? You can't kind of 1v5. You're not like the old Youmuu's one with Youmuu's Aatrox, which the Shy pulled out of Worlds 2018, that kind of thing. Well, you could literally just dunk people with the third Q and then just kind of like remove so many people. You have to have someone else damaging, but then if Gadiadu or Hyde has already been caught and are fighting on the back foot, that doesn't tend to happen so easily.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult to see whether Axiz can find his way onto the front foot, because it's been multiple fights in a row where people like Boogie, currently deathless at 4-0.
Oh, he's had a huge game. Huge game from this Lee Sin.
Are finding the front foot more often than not right now. And a couple of tight fights in a row, Hoglet's been blown up. He's got a GA this time at least. A couple of times in a row, Eunyan's just not been in the right position at the right time. Couple fights in a row, the carries, one or the other from Axiz has been singled out and blown up really fast.
Has indeed. So we're posturing once again. Had it happen so many times this time. So Elder Dragon now has worn off. It's not a permanent buff, of course. It only stays around for a couple of minutes. And the Baron is available. There is still a big not item or objective. It's a big objective to fight around. Paz is looking for a flank here.
But he's spotted. That GLP missed, though. He flashes onto Garriaro, who was stepping forwards to it. But he's at least out of the way with a flash. And now Paz in a difficult position. As Hyde's found his way on Unyan. Has got a massive Fate's Call. Now V3 in trouble. Hoglet over to the back and onto Boogie. He's got a flat. It's both GAs down. And Unyan going down as well. And now Paz is doing huge amounts of damage. Hyde trying to stay alive because Archer's got a double. This Varus so strong, and once again Axiz lose the fight. Paz is here, found another clutch flank.
And after that fight, I think that V3 will be able to push in and it'll secure themselves at least an inhibitor in this mid lane.
It's 45 seconds on Garriaro. They might try to end.
They might try and do any number of things, but with... they are actually TPing. This could be trying to be the end game play. Their cooldowns are slowly coming back. They have all 5 people here in the mid lane.
And Hyde is going to try and do what he can. It's a flash play, and that's all you needed. Hyde dead, and that means the towers go down 2-0. V3 go in this series.
So significantly harder in this second game of the series, but it still goes the same. Second verse, same as the first, 2-0 to V3. Coming back to our post-game segments. Lexi, take it away.
Well, that was V3 falling a little bit behind in that early game, but against Axiz. Axiz having a very strong performance, very similar to how that earlier few weeks went. Good early game, mid-game fall off. Seems as if V3 have fixed any and all cracks in their armor and are looking to continue that 5-0 streak into another 3 more wins, up to that 8-win streak. Looking scary so far.
They are. And the thing which really scares me is that V3 are team fighting just like that.
Yeah,
They're turning on just one person. And that's the real night and day difference between the two teams. V3 have a firm view in their mind of when they want to fight, who's going to be doing what, and then coming away with it. Didn't work out in every fight, but Axiz are really not firing on that cylinder.
Yeah, early game, Axiz looked great. They found a lot of good stuff out. They got to that Infernal Soul even, and it was looking really good. They were looking confident. Boogie was struggling to find the same impact. He was kind of being matched by Hoglet this time around. But as the game went on, the team fights were going away from Axiz. Paz was finding monster flanks where Unyan just wasn't. Where Boogie was finding flash kicks where Hoglet just wasn't. Where the Fate's Call was going in, but Hyde was getting slowed down on equalizers and all the rest of it. Reyna was finding all these hooks, and 1 QSS is not enough to keep a Kalista alive.
And I think that the fights were just too fast-paced for Axiz to start peeling back, start trying to fight around this Kalista, which loves to kite, use the GLP in a bigger fashion there. There was a really cool QSS flash from Hyde in the last fight onto the Lee Sin kick. But when Unyan was really doing his most work, Hyde was nowhere to be seen. Again, it's just a little bit disjointed from Axiz in this second game.
Yeah,
this is a team that is truly looking like they have turned fully on and they're ready for their playoff spot if you're a V3 fan.